That specific contradiction is unfolding right now with the strange interstellar anomaly known simply as 3I Atlas. This specific mission has quietly transformed into the single most extensive surveillance operation in recorded human history. There is an unwritten directive inside agencies like NASA that never makes it to the press briefings. When a celestial body begins defying laws of motion and orbital mechanics break down, they do not panic when predictions fail. They do not rush to the evening news with panic. Instead, they go dark. They trigger protocols in silence, and on November 27, one such protocol was activated for Atlas. This visitor from deep space is an object that we are told poses zero risk to Earth. I have a serious question that should make you uncomfortable regarding why a benign rock requires defense. Why does it require a 60-day planetary defense mobilization involving hundreds of observatories and United Nations? The answer is not about science, but about tracking a target that might decide to change direction. We must dig deeper into silence to find the specific threshold where curiosity turns into classified concern. When mathematics of a trajectory stop making sense, agencies do not scratch their heads, they lock doors. The activation on November 27th was not a suggestion. It was actually a pure defensive reflex. We are told 3I Atlas is just passing through, as an inert fragment of simple ice and dust. Yet the response suggests we are dealing with a dangerous variable that refuses to fit the model. Consider the discrepancy, because you do not mobilize a global defense network for a simple scientific curiosity. Mobilize it for a threat, and resources poured into this study dwarf anything we have seen. We are currently looking at a high level of coordination, usually reserved for catastrophic asteroid impact scenarios. By the time we finish connecting these dots, you will see that this is no astronomy lesson. It is a stakeout, because we are watching something that might actually be watching us. Back today. Let us contextualize this response, because the International Asteroid Warning Network has a singular and specific mandate. Their job is to detect and track impactors, because it is not a fan club for rocks. It is a planetary shield, born from the realization that we live in a cosmic shooting gallery. Governments only fund the IAWN network because they are terrified of what happened to the dinosaurs previously. Put the pistol between the wall and come at you, just like 10 feet your head. It implies the probability curve for an intersection with Earth shifted in a way that alarmed someone. Why trigger the alarms? For a comet that officials say has a 0% chance of impact. Here is the narrative they want you to believe about Atlas being flagged on July 1, 25. Its initial path was hyperbolic, meaning it came from outside our system and was unbound by sun. It was supposed to swing by steel gravitational velocity and be flung back into the cosmic void. Late in October 3rd, Atlas disappeared behind the sun, relative to our position on the planet Earth. When it re-emerged on the other side, and the numbers were wrong and the data was disastrously off, astronomers were forced to scrap orbital models, because the object had deviated from its predicted path entirely. The object moved in a way that standard Newtonian physics could not justify or explain to us. Here is the detail that should keep you awake tonight, because the new trajectory was not random. It appeared to be a calculated insertion into the gravitational sphere of the giant gas planet Jupiter. It threaded a cosmic needle so precise that natural forces struggle to explain how it happened naturally. A logistical document surfaced on the internal servers of the European Space Agency before the world knew. This was not meant for public consumption, as it was a boring allocation schedule for telescope time. However, buried deep inside a spreadsheet of future targets was a single and absolutely terrifying text line. It read anticipated interstellar entry candidates, early anomaly projection high priority, which is alarming for a spreadsheet. Think about that phrasing, anticipated, because 4 months before detection, they were already allocating heavy resources. There, they watched for interstellar objects that would behave strangely, not hypothetical rocks, but actual expected arrivals. There it is, as if they were waiting for a scheduled train to arrive at the station platform. The ghosts do not stop there, because the Space Force quietly pushed a software update in 2024. This update went to infrared tracking satellites, built to spot the heat signatures of ICBM missile launches. They look down at the Earth to save us from nuclear war, and keep the peace usually. In November 2024, sensors on at least 3 of these platforms were suddenly rotated upwards. They stopped looking down at us and started staring out into the deep freeze of outer space. Infrared sensors are heat seekers, perfect for spotting cold, dark objects against the void of the universe. If you knew something was approaching from the outer dark, you would definitely use infrared to see. By January 2025, military assets were already scanning a specific patch of sky for visitors. Orbits are not suggestions. They are laws because Johannes Kepler wrote the rules in 1609. If you know object speed and position, you can predict its location 10 years from now precisely. That is how we land rovers on Mars. But 3I Atlas is breaking Kepler's laws right now. The velocity change was inexplicable, and standard cometary models failed to account for it in any way. Usually if a comet moves off course, it is because of outgassing jets pushing it like thrusters. However, the acceleration vector here does not match any possible jet alignment we have ever seen before. Most disturbingly, this was not a random drift. It was a correction onto a precise intercept course. The deviation placed the object on a precise intercept course, with Jupiter's massive realm of influence immediately. Jupiter's Hill sphere is the region where the giant planet's gravity dominates the Sun's gravity completely. Today, it is a massive invisible bubble, extending millions of kilometers out into the darkness of the system. The odds of a random rock falling from interstellar space and nailing the entry corridor are infinitesimal. It is like firing a rifle, blindfolded, and hitting a coin from a mile away without aiming. Sure, it is theoretically possible, but if you see it happen, you call it aim, not luck. In the leaked memos, they are referring to this shift as course correction maneuver 2. Right now, let us discuss the physics, because to achieve that kind of course change, naturally scientists are sweating. 3I Atlas would need to be venting massive amounts of gas to achieve that kind of move. It should be screaming bright in our telescopes, surrounded by a massive coma of dust and vapor. But observations show almost zero outgassing, because the object is eerily quiet and behaving very strangely indeed. It is steering itself without visible propellant, like watching a cargo ship turn sharply in the ocean. It turns like a ship with its engines dead, and leaving absolutely no wake in the water. Thermodynamics is also taking a beating here, because when ice gets near the sun, it sublimates rapidly. Active comets release heat and glow in the infrared. But 3I Atlas is currently stone-cold dead. Infrared surveys show minimal thermal emission from a dark, cold engine executing high-energy maneuvers in space. Amateur astronomers notice that the center of light on the object is not stable because it jumps. This implies the object is not a tumbling rock, but suggests an extended structure flying in space. Look like me. Then the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter snapped a series of frames in November that revealed the dark silhouette. It was elongated, and analysts whisper about distinct high-albedo regions, separated by voids in the structure. That is technical speak for two bright things connected by something dark, looking more like a vessel. So what are the wargamers in the Pentagon actually planning for with 3 scenarios on table? Scenario 1 is the capture, where Atlas enters Jupiter's gravity well and hits the brakes. Right now, it uses the planet to kill its momentum and settles into a stable orbit to watch us. If this is a probe, that is the smartest play to get a front row seat. Here. It sits safely far away from the noisy inner planets, powered by Jupiter's massive radiation belts today. Scenario 2 is the slingshot, where it uses Jupiter as a gravity assist, stealing momentum to accelerate. It takes a look, snaps some photos, and leaves on a simple drive by reconnaissance mission again. Scenario 3 is the inward turn, representing the nightmare scenario, where it executes maneuver 3 towards us. It pivots and uses gravity assist to hurl itself toward the inner solar system and toward Earth. As 3I Atlas navigates Jupiter's gravity, we will know the truth about what it really wants. If it actively steers and fights the gravity or leans into it, we will have confirmation of agency. If we are not watching with every sensor we have, and we could miss the moment it turns. The current planetary defense architecture is obsolete in the face of this because it assumes dumb rocks. It assumes Newtonian predictability, meaning if you calculate a path today, it will be the same tomorrow. 3I Atlas is dismantling those assumptions one by one, which is terrifying for the defense analysts involved. Publicly, NASA is holding the line of no threat, but the internal posture is actually very defensive. There is palpable frustration among analysts who are being told to smile for the cameras. Right now, data screams anomaly. As we move from the era of asteroid impacts to the era of uncertainty, the lesson 3I Atlas teaches us is that the dark is not empty, and certainly not random. The question is no longer is it artificial, but what happens when it finishes its turn? Today, we are improvising a response to an event we never thought we would see in our lifetimes. We are hoping that our silence keeps us safe, but hope is not a strategy for survival. I turn this over to you, asking if 3I Atlas is a freak of nature or not. Are we witnessing a controlled maneuver by something that has traveled a long way to see us? The answer to that question arrives in the next 2 months, and so leave your theories in comments. I read every single one, so if you want to stay updated as we track this object, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. As we watch the sky, we will be watching the sky closely, because something is definitely watching us back from the dark.